At the Boston Marathon, Brent was drowning. He was miles from the finish. He was physically spent, mentally completely gone. And he screamed at his brother, Kyle, are you going to race with me today? Kyle can't push the pedals. Brent can't find the finish line without him. And that's not a limitation. That's the entire point. Brent and Kyle Pease, today's guests, have raced Ironmans, marathons, and world championships together. But most importantly, they built a nonprofit that's changed what inclusion looks like in sports and in life. And I have the pleasure of sitting down with them today to talk about what a 15-year partnership in a race and in their boardroom together actually teaches you about trust, about mission, and most importantly, about asking for help when you can't afford not to. And so my one ask is that you share today's show with someone who needs to hear it. It is inspiring. It brought me to tears and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so without further ado, let's get into another episode of the Mind of George show. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Mind of George show. Today feels like one of those monumentous episodes. I have no idea what I'm in for, but I have a feeling I'm in for a catalytic conversation based on my research, based on today's incredible guests, and based on what I want to talk to them about today, which is mindset, mission, and anything else that comes up in between. And so I'm honored and humbled to be joined by Kyle and his brother Brent, last name Pease, like the vegetable, but when you type them into Google, like get ready to cry, get ready to learn, get ready to be inspired. But in my personal opinion, the walking embodiment of what it means to be mission driven, to be resilient, to be inclusive, to care about the world, to care about their community, and not just talk about it, but be the difference and make this world a better place. They are the co-founders of the Kyle Pease Foundation, and it is an incredible nonprofit that they champion inclusivity in sports and the workplace for people with disabilities. And their story has captivated audiences worldwide. I've watched videos. I knew about them way before they were ever coming on the show. And so today just felt like a Christmas present that I get to unwrap, getting to have a conversation with them. And I'm sure we're going to get into all of it, from the Ironman World Championships, how they work together, and all the things that they do. And so I'm incredibly honored and grateful to have them both. So Kyle and Brent, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, if you ever need me to be your MC or like introduce you for keynotes, like I'll do that when I retire. You just let me know.
Yeah, that would be really good.
Plus, in Atlanta, you have a little bit better food selection than I do out here in Glacier, but I could go for some like good fried chicken or Southern Comfort biscuits and gravy. So
we got it all.
You do have it all. And so I kind of want to give everybody a little bit of a background, right? Because I think it's really, really important. And your guys' story is incredible. But either one of you, if you kind of want to take me back, because right, you're, I think, crossing 15 years now of the organization. So like, congratulations. And you guys are obviously brothers and we see the after state now, but would you mind kind of taking me to the before state of like where all this started?
For sure. So Brett,
No, we went further back than that. And we were like, when we were talking before, right? It's like, you've heard some of these answers, but like the bones of like everything that we do was really like, both of our parents were wonderful, but like our mom was a total champion for everything Kyle. And Kyle was a baseball nut, and it still is. And so there wasn't a way for him to play. And so she and her friend Beth brought what was then called the Challenger Baseball League. I think it's like, now it's gone through iterations like Miracle and Charlie's, but she brought Challenger Baseball to Atlanta, to 2 parks to start, I think, and then eventually 4. But that created an opportunity for Kyle to play baseball like his brothers. And so like the bones of what we do today are like, when we look back on it, like that was the beginning of everything. That our mom was like, your brother's going to be included in what we do. He's going to live a full life. He's going to have everything he needs. He's going to go to college. When he cusses at me, he's going to get in trouble. And like, he's going to live a full life. And like, so I think that like is truly where it started for us. And like, we've actually never told this on a podcast. We've told it in speeches many times over the years because it's great. But Kyle was the first hitter in this league. So he was the first kid, like first game, first kid to bat ever, Kyle Pease. And the way it was set up is like everybody bats, everybody gets to experience baseball, and then that's it. So I think they would play like 3 innings. So every kid got to bat, each inning the full, like, and everybody got to run the bases, blah, blah, blah. So his first hit, the guy who was helping him, his buddy, they hit a grounder to short. They help the kid at short pick it up. They throw it to first, and Kyle's out. And so he turns his wheelchair to the dugout. And the umpire's like, no, come back out. You run the bases. Like, you just stay here. And Kyle says, no, that's not how you play baseball. So we have a long-standing joke that Kyle's the only kid to ever get thrown out of a Challenger baseball game before.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. He's like, the rules are the rules. I'm not changing the rules for me.
But like the bones of that still live out like an Ironman. Like Ironman has these very specific cutoffs. And if we ever miss one, we've been close. Like Kyle would be the first to be like, we can't run. We can't bike today because you missed the cutoff. Like we missed the cutoff. We're out. And like, I love that about him because he's fiercely competitive. And, he was trying to express that at however old he was at that point, 10 or 11 years old. Like he wanted to be competitive with it. He wanted to be like the guys on TV. And so like, I think to me, when I really think about it, that's where this all really started.
Wow. I love that. I want to ask, and this might be going off, but you just corrected yourself in the middle of something where you're like, you can't, and you're like, we.
Right.
And I think that's a really powerful thing. And I don't know if you've ever been asked this before, but like, I am innately curious because you guys are a duo in a lot of this, right? Like in Ironman races. And I'm curious how you guys as brothers, but also partners, like where is that line or what does that mean? Like the you versus me or the we? Because even me asking questions, I want to own. I'm like, well, you're running or, I want to understand the dynamic of that. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I don't, I never looked at it like that, George. I've always looked at it as a we thing. It's not you versus me. It's not, it's us together. Although I will say though, whenever we cross the finish line, I always cross 1 second before he does. So, but now we cross at the same time. So I never really looked at it like that. I look at it as we're doing this thing together to show what is possible.
I mean, it doesn't work without both of us.
Right.
Like, we both slip all the time where it's like, I finished the race. And it's like, I mean, we finished it. It's like the Top Gun line, right? Where he's like,
Yeah.
I was flying inverted and Goose elbows him. And he's like, excuse me, we were, that's like what happens. Like, it's just like a slip. Like, of course, but like the way to think about it is like, if I'm not there, Kyle doesn't have the physical tools to do an Ironman. Like he, unfortunately, through life circumstance, or needs somebody to help him to do an Ironman. And that's me. But like that act for me is such a physical demand that it really gets harder to deal with the mental, like this is such a mental sport. And Kyle has had to deal with like your life, people connected in your sphere, people that you've interviewed here, like they've gone through some stuff, like they've been through the ringer mentally, and Kyle has too. Like, I mean, picture being, 8 years old and all the kids are running down the street in the neighborhood and you're waiting for mom or dad to push you in your wheelchair. Like that's a challenge at like 7, 8, 9 years old that I never fully appreciated. And so when we get into trouble in a race, like when I'm physically giving everything I've got and mentally there's not anything going on, I need Kyle. I can't do it without him. I can't. Like, here's a great story. We were doing a race in 2017 and it was hot as all get out. It was miserable. We were both having a rough day and I screamed at Kyle. It's like one of the rare times I screamed at him. I go, are you going to race with me today? And he goes, what? I go, get in the race, man. And he woke up and just unleashed fury on me. But I was in such a dark place and he was sitting there silently that I was like, dude, this is your part. I can't do this without you. So like, he's got to bring an unbelievable amount of mental positivity to a situation that demands so much physical energy. And so like, we both exhaust ourselves and it's the best part that we get to exhaust ourselves together.
I think Brent said it really well. That I followed his race, but he followed my spirit. And I think that we we all need a little help by our friends, right? So who do you draw hard to get that connection that you need to keep going? So we draw on each other to keep going on one step at a time.
I love that. Can you say that line again about you borrowed him for the race and he borrowed your spirit? Is that what you said?
No, so I borrowed Brent legs and he borrowed my spirit.
I love it. It's so good. And I think, I feel like really emotional because I think you two are probably, this is maybe a weird correlation, but you as brothers and how you work as a team is probably the closest thing that I can explain to being in combat or in the military with somebody that most people don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you work as like a single unit and there isn't like a you or I, it's like we because we both come home or we both do it, but there's so much. I think the world would label it like codependency, but it's needed. And hearing you speak about this, I feel like it's such a valuable lesson for entrepreneurs. Where I think, like in the world that I live in, right, in entrepreneurship, we see it's like 2026 and it's such an isolating, a game of I, and it's not
Right.
played to each other's strengths, right? Or weaknesses or those things. And the dynamic that you two have is huge. So I'm just curious too, because you guys have given so many speeches and you've been around it, but you have an incredible organization with like a giant team. So like, how has this relationship influenced how you see team and how you see leadership? And maybe there's some like practical thoughts for like people listening on how they can take that same thing into their business.
Well, what's interesting is like we thrive on a race course in it because of what you said. And like, I think it's the shared experience too, right?
Yeah.
Because like somebody might look at us that has no clue, like about whatever. Like, so they look at me and they're like, God, he's doing so much work. Like what a physical, like without ever considering how much Kyle's going through. Or others might look at it and be like, man, Brent could never do this without Kyle. It's really incredible what he does. And it's like missing the whole point of what we're doing together. Right. Like, so I kind of, I mean, I have never been in combat, but like I understand that shared bond of brotherhood of what we're doing. But where we struggle of taking that from the race course into the boardroom is that like in our dynamic, Kyle is the founder and he's a board member, but he's also an employee. And I am the executive director, meaning I'm in charge of all the employees. But so I've got like, there's days I'm like, dude, you need to go do this. And there's days where he's like, hey, by the way, it's my name, it's my organization. Why aren't you doing this? So that's where the dynamic is challenging, where it's like Kyle has such a leadership component because of what he's dedicated his life to. He's dedicated the last 15 years of his life in service to others. Like we could have just raced for 15 years and sat on this podcast and told stories. Like, and I don't think anybody would have blamed us for that. But this was his decision. And then we took it together. And so that's where we struggle. It's like we sit in these rooms where I need to be the leader and I need to share that. And so we're really good at it right now on the race course of like, this is your turn. Your dynamic right now is you need to be positive for me. You need to help me through this. Or the other side of it is there's a huge hill coming up. I can't do anything right now. I need you to push the pedals and listen to my voice. Right. Like we have to learn how to take that into the boardroom of Kyle's, to me, the example is Kyle says, hey, I want to help 1,000 people next year. And then he needs to get out of the way and let me lead the team of how we're going to execute that. And we're still working through it. And we're still getting better at it. But Kyle has only actually been working as an employee here for the last 5 years. So for the first 10 years of this org, he was just a board member and an athlete. And so we're learning and it's growing. But I love the way you asked it because it's something that we're aware of. And like, it's what we talk about when we're just in the office together of like, how do we manage this and how do we want to work on this together?
I believe that one trait that I'm trying to learn is quiet leadership. It's letting your actions do the talking. And I think that once we identify, this like Fred said, and remove ourselves, then the sky the limit. But sometimes you have to say what you want and then get out of the way so that the people that you trust to live out the mission or do that to the best of their capabilities.
Mm. Yeah, it's so I love that, and there's two. Oh man, I have 8 million things I want to talk to you both about, but I'm gonna keep myself in check because I think one of the things that the first thing is Brent, hearing you and both you and Kyle's perspective on that, right? Like being committed to the mission and getting out of the way. But I love the way that you talked about how good you are on the race course, but now you're learning how to bring it back into the business and bring it back into the day to day. But maybe I'm leading this question, but I feel like running an Ironman, and I've never done an Ironman, I've done a half, but running an Ironman is probably one of the biggest lessons in entrepreneurship or even mission driven work where there is no perfect race. There is no, it's always going to go to plan. Like it is just a series of like roadblocks, getting punched in the mouth and then making adjustments. And so I'm just curious, like from both of you, because you both have such unique experiences in the race as a team, but different jobs and roles. What are some of those lessons that you've learned doing Ironmans and doing races and then bringing them back kind of into the business?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. For me, I I'm getting more prepared. Like I know how to study a race course. I know, we got Kona twice now. And every time we go there, I always ride the bike course to get really familiar with it and find out, where the turns are and all that. So I think to be it, doing Ironman with Brent has made me a better person and much
Mm,
more prepared to be um better equipped to be a leader and to help my team, the inclusive team, to better their focus and help them to become more professional. Some of these employees, it's their first job that they ever have had. So just, giving them the tools to make them feel comfortable and successful at the same time.
I love that. What about you, Brent?
I mean, I think for me, it's more about like how you manage challenges and
Yeah.
setbacks. Like Ironman is a series of ups and downs throughout the day, and how you manage those. Um, there's a great book, Ryan Holiday. I'm sure many of
Yep.
your listeners, right? The obstacle is the way. Like I had a board member one year that was like, "You need to go read this book." And like the simple premise of the book is what everything's an obstacle. So like just deal with it, and that's Ironman. And so I think that's helped me. Like there has to be a level of patience in what we do.
Mm,
Like there's so many different moving parts and none of it, like we always kind of joke like with what we do with managing, people with disabilities, it's kind of like hurry up and wait, like our office is a great example. Okay. So we moved into this office space in the basement of a storage facility. We love it. But like when we were looking at the space, Kyle was like, hey, the walls between the office and the windows is not wide enough to turn a wheelchair. And I was like,
mm,
we don't have the money to do that and we can't change anything structurally anyways. So when Kyle comes into my office for a meeting, when he leaves, his office is next to mine. He can't do that. He has to turn right, go to the end of the hallway, turn his wheelchair around. Then he can come back and make the turn into his office. And it's like in an Ironman, you get to this place where it is hard and you can't try to escape that. Because if
no.
you're trying to escape the problem, you're never going to get out of it. You're going to end up failing. And
Hmm.
so you start to learn to like, let's make this a smaller deal. Like, how do we go 1 foot, one step? Like, how do we go 5 feet at a time? Like, the number of times Kyle and I have like sat there, or I say Kyle, like that's where Kyle is like, I just want you to go to this one spot. Like we were in the Boston Marathon, or the Disney Marathon, and
Yeah.
I had failure at the Boston Marathon. Like, where did you go to? What do we wanted? And we're in Disney and I was like, hey man, I was like, we're at mile 18. We got 8.2 miles to go. I was like, I'm doing that thing again. I was like, I'm thinking too far ahead. I'm not focusing on what we need to do right now. And Kyle's like, okay, I got it. He's like, go, I want you to run to this park entrance where it's like, oh, that's like a quarter mile away, And then like, so the rest of the race, he's just like talking me through things. Like if we can bring that here, or instead of being like, oh my God, like the sky's falling, or like we didn't raise
Mhm.
enough money this month. Like, okay, what do we need to do today? Like, what can we focus on for the next hour that's going to help make us reach whatever level of success we've set out for ourselves?
Mm, I love that. You know, it reminds me, I've actually talked about it on the podcast. So I want to bring it up again because in the Marine Corps, we're taught to shrink our world as small as possible anytime anything doesn't go to plan, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
we have moment to moments of that to be able to protect our progress. And I love the way that you said that of like in an Ironman, but also in business. If there's that obstacle that you're avoiding, you're choosing failure. It's just a matter of when it's coming, right? There's
Right.
no way around it. Like my son's 9, right? So there was this book he read as a kid called Bear Through the Woods. And I used to repeat this to him every night because it said it 600 times. It's like, you can't go over it. You can't go under it. You can't go around it. You have to go through it. And I
I love that.
love your reminder of it because if we just simplify these things down to childhood, it's there. But I also want to talk about the dynamic between you two because, you know, even hearing you both talk about racing together, it is crystal clear that without the other, there is no race. There is no Boston Marathon. There is no Kona. And, you know, Brent, hearing you talk about it, you're like, I don't think I could do it without Kyle. And Kyle providing this like mindset piece, this coaching piece, and getting yelled at. So, is this a dynamic that just happened naturally as brothers, or is this something that you guys figured out in racing over time of like how you work well together? Because I can just envision, and I wish I could see footage of this. Like I kind of am laughing thinking about like Kyle yelling at you, like, get out of your head, like run to the park, like
Right.
shut up, like not right now, right? Like, how did this dynamic come about? And like, how does this work together with you two in races, but also in business?
Yeah, I think that in the beginning, during our first couple of years of racing together, I think Fred, it was a lot of me learning from Fred about how to do stuff, how to be prepared, what to wear, what to eat, and all that. But now it's almost our unspoken language that both
Mm,
of us kind of know our goals, and we know we're to be there for each other. And that's not saying that we're always there for each other for every race, for every business opportunity that we have, we're always there. But on the race course, it's a different vibe. It's a vibe that we're gonna have each other at. And whether that's through love or through an argument or whatever, that we're gonna have each other back no matter what.
mm. Mm. And Brent, how has that been for you? Right. Cause I think you said this a couple minutes ago, Brent. I think it's so important. You're like, it would be so easy for the world to look and be like, I'm doing the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you're like, but it's not even the case. Right. And I think that I wanna extract this a little bit because I think everybody looks at physicality like it's such the hard thing to do. But I think when you get into moments like this, you realize like our perspective and our mindset is
Mm-hmm.
so much more of a requirement. And so I'm just curious in your perspective, like how has that been on your side?
Well, Colin and I have this kind of like comment that might offend some, or that's maybe a sick joke
Perfect.
to brothers. But like at moments of peak frustration on a race course, it's like, dude, then you come push the pedals. And Kyle's like, you come sit in the chair, right? Like then, but like it's also but it's also the shift, right? Like I'm glad you
Yeah.
appreciate it because we do. But it's also the shift of like you don't know what it's like to push these pedals, Kyle. And like in this moment, I don't want to apologize for that. That's my reality. Right now, the pedal is the hardest thing for me to push. But Kyle's also like, but you don't know what it's like to be in this wheelchair. Like I'm pleading with you to give more effort because I know you can. And like, so I feel like where we've evolved is that as I was the oldest brother, you know, and we very much lived that dynamic. I kind of tried to rule the roost, I should say. And it's like I've had to learn to let Kyle, be his best self. Like so, like that's letting him be the leader. That's letting him be the captain. Like then, and doing that at work too. Like I need to be able to get out of the way because he knows how to manage this through his own personal like battles that he's dealt with. Like I never watched a room full of kids take off and had to wait for somebody to take me too. You know,
Yeah.
I had my own challenges, right? Like there were things that were hard for me at 8 or 15 or 25, but Kyle doesn't have to know that either. He has to
Mm,
understand it and be open to it. Like there is a story we've told a lot. And I think you heard some of this. Like when
mhm.
we were in Hawaii in 24, there was this moment of tension where Kyle screamed at me and I was super worried about something. I basically said, hey, it's going to be windy. I'm looking at the ocean. I can tell. And Kyle kind of screams at me. He's like, don't worry about that. And it's like, what, why should I not worry? Like it's scary pushing 370 pounds of human and steel up a hill into the wind. Like that's not something I'm like super like, yeah, this is what I get to do, but like at the same time, like Kyle would love nothing more than to be like, I'm going to push the pedals today for you. You know,
Mm,
if I can just step out of the way sometimes, it's where it's where we've evolved as athletes, the willingness to trust and believe each other, and where we can continue to evolve as, as co-founders and owners, if you will. I mean, I know we're nonprofit, but like that's effectively what we are. We're partners in life and in
yeah.
business. And so we've got to trust each other and believe each other. It's like if I
Yeah.
said it's windy and Kyle says it's not, like who's right? You know? And like both of us. It's like Kyle said it. You need a little help from your friends. I know he was pulling a line there, but like it's perfect. It's a perfect way to epitomize what we're trying to do for each other.
George, I think you will appreciate this, that the hardest part of my day is the first thing in the morning when my caregivers are glad have to pick me up from my bed and put me in my wheelchair.
Mm,
Don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for the wheelchair and that I can move around by, by power and all that. But for 5 seconds of my day, it's the reality check that I need help with
yeah.
everything. What you do for yourself, you do for me. But then
Mm,
after that, I'm reminded that I get to do this. I don't have to do this. I get
mm,
to do this with Brett. So I choose every day to believe in hope, believe in the power of prayer that everything will be okay. And with Brett by my side, everything is much better every single day.
mm. I think I'm crying with what you just said, Kyle, because I think one of the things that I see, like coming from the Marine Corps in 13 years of my life and seeing that, like it was a dark world, but in entrepreneurship, it's an equally dark world. And everyone feels like they have to do it alone. And hearing you be like, I need help. Like, I think we all need help. And we live in a world that's like afraid to acknowledge that and afraid to rely on each other and afraid to like be vulnerable and to be open. And like hearing you both talk, like it's so powerful coming from you. But I think the challenge is we all do, and no one's allowed to admit it anymore. And so, like, I love the example that you two give too, because it like, I coach people all day, right? That's what I
Mhm.
do. And I get phone calls from people in every walk of life from like, I'm just starting to, I'm a billionaire. And they're like, I've never felt more alone, more helpless, and more like nobody can help me. And I think that you two are an example in, what it takes to be a team, but what it takes to be connected. And I don't think as humans, we're supposed to do any of this alone either. And so, like, just everything like deeply resonates to me. I'm over here like a puddle already. um,
No, okay. I mean, well, number one, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I think like I would like to add to what you're saying. Like
Please.
that's quite frankly, it's one of the greatest lessons that Kyle gives people in his sphere, and especially his family, because like we had to watch him ask for help. When we stopped asking, we had to watch him keep asking for help because he didn't have a choice. Like I, the example I think about was like helping Kyle change clothes one time when we were teenagers. And I, pulled up his pants and his boxers were twisted. And I was like, oh, shoot, you want me to fix that? He was just like very matter of factly, like, no, it's okay. And he said it in a way of kind of like, I don't know any different. Like the boxers are twisted, but my clothes, like it was kind of like, I have clothes and I have a house. Like who cares? Right. And it's such a
Yeah.
powerful lesson. And like, I think when I was talking about the business side of some of the questions, like that's been the biggest challenge for Kyle is like, now all of a sudden I'm actually willing to be vulnerable and ask for help. Like, instead of being like, I'll take care of you, brother, I'm
Mhm.
saying, hey, I need you to take care of me today. Remember that time when we were kids and I carried you down the stairs so we could play together? Like, it's your turn, and all I have to do in exchange for that all of a sudden sounds quite easy. It's like, if I just turn the pedals a little bit more, then
Mhm.
Kyle can help me more and more, and I can be open to that. And like, that translates, like, to call a board member and say, I need your help to, tell friends, family, whoever, like it's a very hard skill to learn as an adult, and probably more so for a lot of men that were,
Yeah.
raised differently. Right. And so I didn't know any different because I watched Kyle go through it. I still watch him go through it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And thank you for adding to that. I swear I wear pink shoes, pink hoodie, just to remind myself to be emotional and vulnerable every day. That's
Yeah.
why I do it.
Yeah.
I was like, do you guys ever play sick jokes? Like, is the wheelchair electric?
Yeah, my everyday wheelchair is electric.
Okay.
But the one that we race in is manual.
Yeah, we'll call that the Brent battery. So it's like, you go charge yourself, bro. Like, push faster. I
Very,
love it.
very true. But I do love all the pig swag, and I was gonna give you a hard time on it. And that your wife's water bottle and that your wife's sweatshirt, but it's a real man wear pick.
They do. I even have pink shoes on, brother. My website's pink too. This podcast is going to be on a pink website.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. You all charged up over there?
Yeah, we're good. I just,
Okay.
it usually doesn't burn out on Riverside, but for some reason it did today. So,
All good. All good. So I want to this is actually kind of going well because you've alluded, but there's one thing, and I want to ask you about this because obviously, like, you guys have been racing. When was your first race?
February of 2011.
Okay, so 2011. So 15 years of
Mhm.
of racing, right? And there's just something that I caught when I was doing research that I want to talk about, because I think you did Kona twice, like, and there was like 6 years apart, correct?
Mhm. Correct.
And you not only improved your time, but you broke the record. And what I loved is when you were talking about improvement, you didn't talk about performance, you didn't talk about training, you didn't talk about some crazy supplement. You talked about emotional maturity.
Mhm.
And I'm curious from both of your perspectives, like, what that actually looked like and what changed on the inside.
I mean, I think we were like, in the early years, like, we thought results were going to make, like, what we're doing today is what we tried to do when we started. Like, how do we get more recognition? And I think
Mm,
early on, what recognition looked like for us was like, it was a record. It was, you know, I remember like 1,000 followers that, like, in theory, give a crap about what we do. Right. But like, as we matured, what we understood was that, the recognition was far more powerful than me, Kyle, because it was recognizing the full body of what this is. And this is a movement
mm,
of inclusion. And so it's the families and the individuals that make up the Kyle Pease Foundation. It's not just me, Kyle, finishing a race. Like, it's everybody. There is a story that I don't care how many times we tell it, we'll tell it over and over. This kid, Dale, that has been racing with us. I mean, shoot, him and Kyle grew up playing sports together. He
mm,
texted us the night before the Ironman in 2018. He said, when you're in the World Championships, we're all in the World Championships. Like, I got a little plaque, a little tiny, like, metal thing on my desk that says that. And it's like, it's such a great reminder that, the fame or the attention that we sought, we misunderstood what that meant. And so as we matured, like when we went in 2024 and like had an opportunity to do the fastest, by the way, it's not a recognized record unless you're me,
w-
Kyle. But like,
will make it recognized.
that's right. That's right. But for us, like, that wasn't about what we could do, but it was about what we all could do collectively. Right. And so,
Mm,
like, that's where we've matured. Like, we 100% wanted to be on stages doing motivational speeches and sharing our message with the world. We wanted, thousands of people to stand up and cheer. We wanted to go to races. We joked about we needed to be on the Today Show. But what that looks like today is no different. We told you when we started, like we've been spending a lot of energy this year to do more podcasts. But that's us spending an hour, 2-3 hours a week of just getting the message out and letting people know that we're here to support a much bigger movement than just us. And so we've continued to grow, and then that shows up in racing because it allows us to be fully present with each other and in the moment, instead of like, well, what's everybody going to say when we finish? It's like, what are we going to say to each other right now? And so we're showing up with love and with gratitude and appreciation for what we get to do together. And that's where I've watched us both evolve, immensely over the last 15 years.
Half the battle is showing up. And when you show up, you learn and you evolve and you grow. And sometimes I think Brett said it best, and I hold on to this quote around on my darkest days. When I walk into a room, Brett always used to say, whenever you walk into a room, Kyle, you don't have to say a word. You can have respect because of your zest for life. And I guess, and as I continue to grow personally, that's why I want to bring to the table that we all have a seat at the table, no matter what's going on in our life. That we deserve to grow and learn from our brothers and our sisters and learn to be better. And by Fred helping me to understand that, he has made me a better person.
Yeah, I love, I say that all the time. I love the way that you describe that, Kyle, is that we all have a seat at the table, but no one's going to pull the chair out for us. We have to show up every day.
Yes.
And in pulling that chair out, sometimes it requires that we become a different person and evolve in that process. And so I love the way that you describe that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, and these might feel like I have two questions, and they might feel really pedantic or childish, but I can't help myself of like just already a half an hour of listening to you two. I have a different perspective on what I consider motivation and leadership just listening to you two. And so I'm just curious, if I was to take just leadership and from each of you in your perspective, like how would each of one of you define leadership?
I mean, I think leadership is willing. I think the way I look at it now is it's not the rah screaming and yelling. It's not the do as I say, not as I do. It's the willingness to be vulnerable and to be open to letting people see your flaws, as well as like saying that about Kyle and how he can command respect or how he can command attention in the room is also because he's willing to come in and say, would you mind helping me pull up my pants because they're around my ankle and I look foolish, and like we do it in meetings all the time, like letting people, like, I'm not going to throw our team under the bus to make myself look better. Like, it's my responsibility, and so I think real leadership today is more about vulnerability than ever before.
I love that definition. Oh, I
I
love that.
think leadership is the willingness to take a step back and listen before you say something, right? Speak, yeah, like speak softly but carry a mistake, right? Like go in there, get to know your people, learn from your people, and then go and make make them better by observing, not showing, right? So that's what leadership looks like to me.
Oh, so for anybody listening, I'll save you reading 35 leadership books and just listen to that 1 60-second clip from Kyle. Like he just summarized every effective leadership book ever. So I love that. And I have to because, I get in trouble sometimes. I'm really soft now, but when I got out of the Marine Corps, 15 years ago and I started, being online, I was a little bit rough around the edges.
Sure.
But I used to swear until Jesus saved me, and now I don't cuss anymore. But I remember explicitly yelling at people on videos and stage, like, motivation is bullcrap. It doesn't exist. Get out of here, boom, boom, boom. And I've been humbled since, but I still have the same view of motivation. And I'm curious, as you guys have been racing for 15 years. You're at the 15-year anniversary of like this foundation. And I would submit that if you relied on motivation to get here, you wouldn't be here at all, right? And so I'm curious how you see or define motivation.
So there's a coach that I work with that I've known for a long time, and I just love listening to him talk about mindset. And he said something a few years ago that's stuck with me. So I won't take full credit for this, but he said motivation follows action. And I love that because when you really think about it, right? Like when you're at your peak motivation, when you're doing everything you set out to do, or in our case, an Ironman, like the motivation we're feeling in that moment is because of the action we created, right? The movement that we started, that's the first step that Kyle talked about, like that first moment in the morning, like there was a decision. Do you want to get out of bed today or not? Right? Will you help me start my life today? And if you're willing to create action, like the motivation will follow. Because the screaming rah rah may work for some people. It certainly does. There's packed stages. But like that motivation is fickle. It lasts for the minute you get out of the room, and then as you start walking down the street and you pull your phone out and you're back in that world of whatever it is, like it's ended. Whereas if you go out and create action, like the motivation will actually follow.
I love that. Yeah, I share the same sentiment. And I forgot to say this for everybody listening earlier. And I know this might seem silly, but for those listening that don't know what an Ironman is, it's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run.
That's right.
So I think it's right around like 141 or close to 141 miles. And so, I love the way that you define motivation. Now I'm curious too, and this is for both of you, because there's a couple of things that I want to hit and like weave in, but one of them is like year 15 of the foundation, right? And there's a lot of lessons inside of that. And I'm curious for both of you, Kyle, you've been an employee now for about 5 years, but been on the board. And when you look at like year one versus year now, like today in 2026, like what were those defining moments? Like what almost killed it? And like, what did you focus on to get through it? And then like, what saved it and got it to this place?
That's on you, actually.
Yeah, I could think a lot of.
We never actually almost lost it. It's one of the true, like, good fortunes of what, like, you talked about how many people you talk to a week. Like, I get probably 4 or 5 calls a year of people that are like, hey, I want to start a nonprofit. Somebody told me to reach out to you, or I've been connected to them. And I was like, let me explain to you how this worked for us. We started it in 2011 at the tail end of a bad economy. Our first year, we raised $7,000, and we thought that was the most money we'd ever see. Every year from there, we just did a little bit more. Like you talk about motivation following action. Like we just kept doing it. We kept racing. We kept buying, equipment and meeting people and buying them equipment. And so, we just had the good fortune of building this thing up at kind of the perfect time. And we're a walking billboard. Like our original marketing plan was just race every single month, a minimum of once a month. Like what a great way to spread awareness before we thought, let's save our legs and do podcasts. But I don't know that there was ever a moment where we doubted that we could keep this thing going. I think the real moments of struggle for us were in the, like, how quickly sometimes the growth would occur. I mean, right now we have 18 employees, we have 8 employees with disabilities. And it's like, we feel like we're constantly chasing our tail. And it's like, what can we do? Like to what Kyle said about leadership, to slow down and listen. Like, how do we stop for just one moment here And that's what we've struggled with, because it's like, we can do Ironman. Why can't we do this? And it's, how did you get through the Ironman? One step at a
Pacing.
time. That's right. Like, you didn't just like bite off 140.6. I mean, shoot, it took us almost 3 years to do our first Ironman because we just slowly worked through the distances.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I love about Ironman, and as you can relate to this with your races, is doing the have. You know how Ironman set up on the race course cone by cone? Like if you look at 140.6 miles, that's overwhelming. Like it's overwhelming as hell to think of it like that. But when you break it down cone by cone, you know, stroke by stroke in the water, one pedal at a time on the bike, then it becomes easier. It will still be overwhelming, there's no doubt, but like when you break it down like that and focus on going cone to cone 5 feet in front of you at a time, it makes it more manageable. So that's why I have learned over the 15 years that, yes, there will be challenges along the way, but let's let's break it down to make it easy on us.
Yeah, I love it. The word that it reminds me of is temperance, right? Brent, when you were talking about Ironman, I remember my triathlon coach when I lived in Oahu on Hawaii. I did my first triathlon and there were so many business lessons in this. And I got out of the water on like a short swim and my heart rate was like 180. And he's like, "You're not finishing the race." And I was like, "Watch me." Sure as crap, 10 minutes later, I was like hands on knees, couldn't move. And
Right.
he's like, "This is not a sprint." He's like, "This is all about pacing and consistency." And Kyle, I love the cone by cone by cone because it's also, when you look at what you two have built, the level of like perseverance, but really what it was is that you've had the gas tank to go consistently. And I think about in business, for a lot of people listening to this that have things of meaning or businesses that are going to go through seasons. And even 2026 has been an interesting season for business because AI is changing things. The market is changing. People's behaviors are changing. You have to have the gas tank to run the race. So you have to go consistent, but you have to have temperance as you push through it. And you guys are so consistent in what you do. It's really beautiful to like witness and to see. But I also have never thought this deeply about the amount of correlations between like an Ironman or an ultramarathon and entrepreneurship. And so I'm curious, for both of you is like, God willing, and I'm so blessed by God that you guys have had no issues and you're still going. But when we think about like a nonprofit like this or something, everything is built around service. And I think about the people listening to this. Like I have people building things from scratch. I have them, they have this crazy ideas in business. But there's a lot of things that you don't know about the race until you run it. Like a lot of things you don't know about running a nonprofit until you run it, or running an Ironman until you get on the field. And so, like, what are some of the lessons that you guys kind of had to learn the hard way that you would pass on to somebody now, whether it's building a business, running a race, a nonprofit? I'm just curious from your perspective.
Well, the first thing that somebody said to us, which probably doesn't apply to everybody here on the entrepreneurship side, because they knew this going into the game, but we got sat down by this guy that had been in the nonprofit space. He worked at Coca-Cola, but was running a nonprofit. And he sat us down at dinner and like, we were both like, okay, we're ready to learn. He was like, "All right, congratulations, you now own a business." And we were both like, "Oh my God, wait, what?" And we didn't want to own a business. He's like, it's a nonprofit. You're not going to make any money, but you own the business. It's like, his point was like, you're starting something now and it's not for you. Like, this is for somebody else. Like, you're building it. And like, that was such an eye-opening moment. And that's guided us for 15 years. Like, we are stewards of the dollars we raise, the volunteers we support, the families and athletes, most specifically, that allow us to live out this mission. Like, that was such an eye-opening lesson. I think along the way, where we've also been fortunate is that a lot of those lessons, like, we were taught them in an easier way, right? Like, COVID's a great example, right? Like, I remember for 6 weeks, we basically raised nothing. And I remember looking at a board member going, "Well, I always wanted to know how to run an organization in a downturn. I guess I'm going to figure it out now." But it was like, we had the patience at the time because of what went on that we could do that. Like, we had the patience early on that like, I remember a female volunteer writing me this long email that was like, I just want to help you guys. Like, you had me push a 150-pound man. I weigh 125 pounds. Like, that's probably not the right way. And like, we had just thought we had this amazing day. In that same race now, it's a lot of first timers. It's 3 pushers per chair. Okay. Well, I don't know how the 3 pushers per chair is going to relate to business, but like, we were just given the opportunity with the trust that we built through these like just slow processes that people were willing to say, okay, like that wasn't great. Let me sit you down and walk through that. And perhaps that is an advantage being a nonprofit, that people are more willing to teach us, and they're not going to say, well, I'll never give you another guy my money. I'll never volunteer again. Right. Like, and that's happened. But I think those were the big things for us was number one, like you're running something now, like, and you need to be a respectful, you know, business owner. You need to be a respectful steward of that opportunity. Like, what a gift for us to have that. And then like, as you make those mistakes, it goes back, like perhaps I'm not giving myself enough credit that from my standpoint in the early years, I was willing to listen when people wanted to talk, to then take that back and go, okay, how do I make this better? Because they wanted to have this connection, right? They saw this and were like, I want to push somebody and I want to experience that too. And that's where we've probably learned the most.
I do want to go ahead, Kyle.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to hear yours take, Kyle, but I wanted to hit this, Brent, because you said it. I just think it's important. All that support exists in the for-profit sector, but it requires the humility that Kyle has every single day of like, hey, I can't put my pants on. Can you help me? And it's there, but I also think it's important to acknowledge that in our world, a lot of the times people are afraid to ask because they're afraid of rejection or somebody saying no, but it is there. And the 3-chair pusher is there as well, because even if you're a solopreneur listening to this right now, you still have a team. They're just not paid by you yet. It's your kids, it's your spouse, it's your friends, it's your church, it's the people that believe in you. And so I just wanted to say that it is there. So Kyle, what was the lesson like for you?
No, I can think that you know, Brett brought up a great point. So many times in my life, people are like, well, you should do this, you should do that, you should, you know, go this way or go that way. I'm 41 years old. I don't want to listen to people. I want to do my own life. But the best point, people are trying to help me because they love me and they want the best for me. And again, when you step out of the way, you can fully appreciate that. You know, but when you're in the grind mode, you're like, well, I don't care what they say. I want to do it my own way. You know, but people want to invest in you, and they want to invest in you for a reason. And that reason is because they care about you. And 15 years ago, I would not have taken that advice. But now, even if I don't want to listen to them, they still want to offer their opinion because they love me and they love the organization and they want the best for both parties.
That's such a good reminder. Yeah, I sometimes feel like I'm like a pink honey badger. I look cute, but then I bite you and I'm like, I really want you to help me though. So like keep telling it to me. I'm 42 or 43 and I'm like, I'm still learning that lesson, Kyle. So thank you for the reminder.
Right. Yeah.
Reframing. I'm like, thank you for loving me enough to be honest to me. Thank you for loving me enough to say something. Cause it's ironic when nobody says anything. I'm like, nobody loves me. And then they do. And I was like, I don't want to hear this right now.
That's right.
So it's just a constant pursuit, which I love. And we have to land this plane at some point because I would talk to you guys all day, but I do want to talk about something that we talked about before we hit record, which, I never thought about. Like you have this, like you've talked about this already in the show, like you have employees with disabilities that work for you, right? I know for me, we share this in common because I have friends that like lost limbs and lost a lot of themselves in combat and it's hard for them. And so I'm just actually curious. It's like a 2-part question. Number one is, I think a lot of people listening to this probably are just exposed for the first time to like, there's an entire world that we might not be aware of that your organization bridges the gap for. And I know people are going to be like, how do I help? How do I support? What can I do? But then also, I'm curious, like with your inclusive disability, like employment program, like why is that such a hot topic right now? Like, how does that change for somebody? Because I don't think I can never imagine, like, I know we joke about it, but like when he leaves a meeting in your office, he has to go the opposite direction to turn around. And these are things that like aren't spoke about, but yet there's so many able-minded and able-skilled and, you know, able people that this isn't thought about. So I'm just curious, can you talk about like the employment
Mhm.
with like that, and then also like how we can support or how we can be involved with anything to do with you guys?
Yeah, I'll let Greg tackle the first question now. I'll tackle your second question, George. But it's very easy to get involved with the Kyle Pease Foundation. You can go to our website, kylepeasefoundation.org. And that way you can link up with all of our social channels. You can get involved with volunteering. You don't have to be a runner to volunteer with us. Uh, it's the simplest thing of giving me a banana made a big difference in my life at a race course. So I appreciate that. And then, of course, we are a nonprofit and we rely on very generous donors to help us do these events. We do 60 plus events a year. And it's a labor of. So, we always talk about time, talent, and treasure. And we need all three of them to keep this well-oiled machine moving in the right direction.
He's got that response down pat. Kyle's like been our best, recruiter forever. And it's not because of like that he just rattled that off so well. It's like the genuine excitement and passion that he has for what we do and just for living a full life. Like it's impossible not to be captivated when he's just talking about what we do. So I'll do his service on the employment side. Like what I watched Kyle with, like Kyle at 15 years old, there was a career type event at his high school, and somebody from Publix, which is a grocery store here in the Southeast, came in and was like, gives the whole rundown of like, working in that industry, like how you can, graduate from high school and jump right in and work your way up and still be a manager, like go to college, whatever. And he goes, does anybody have any questions? And Kyle raises his hand and they call him and he goes, how do I get a job at Publix? Because he was 15. His brothers both had jobs from like 13 to 14 years old. Like we'd both been working at that point. And he was like, I need a job. And so he just jumped right in. But what I observed is that it was like, well, you're in a wheelchair. So like you can be a greeter at the grocery store, but like we'll never promote you. Right. It's like you can work at the hospital, but you'll be a greeter in the basement and you'll sit by the elevator and you'll just tell people how to get on the elevator that's like right next to them, And it was like, you need to do more in your life, like you want, like you're a natural leader. So that's what the employment program here has been about. Like people like Kyle with severe physical limitations are often left out of that conversation of like, we say it's meaningful employment. And I hope that if you interviewed all of our team, that they would tell you that, because that's what we're trying to create for them, a space where maybe the hallways aren't wide enough, but everything else is. And maybe, they might need to bring a caregiver once in a while, but if not, we're here to step in. And these are not things that we need to do, or that we are even required to do, but what we feel obligated to do, like for what we just talked about from, 15 years ago in the lessons, is to give something back to the people giving to us. And so these young individuals, like they have real jobs. They got to sit on Zooms like everybody else. They got to deal with me, and they most certainly have to deal with him. But it's a really special thing. Like, so we've given them a real job. They don't just come in and stuff an envelope, and we tell people about our work program. Like there's a kid, I don't know if you can hear him right now. He's interviewing somebody next door to us. There's a young lady who was here doing her interview for the video, and she's got to go home and send out a bunch of emails to recruit more people to come race with us. So it's like, we're trying to build something, but it's also building them something. We're adding a mentorship program for them this year so that they can continue to learn and grow, and just keep this train rolling, man.
Mm. Man, I love it. I literally could talk to both of you all day selfishly. So I do also love, and the employment thing that you hit just reminds me of what Kyle said earlier. Is like, no, I'm going to the dugout. I'm out. That's how baseball
Right.
works. Or there's
100%.
cutoffs, right?
100%.
And
Yeah.
it's like, give me the same opportunity, give me the same, perspective and the mile markers, and just help me achieve them, which I absolutely love. And so I have one final question for both of you. Because obviously in the show notes, I'll have everything linked. Everyone on the podcast, just here's your fair warning. I'm going to be very loud consistently and for a very long time in the future, an advocate for these two. So if you're annoyed, unsubscribe now. Because if not, I'm just going to keep talking about it. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of lessons that come from this. And there's one question that I always like to ask, and all three of us are like similar age. So you remember the movie Men in Black?
That's right.
You remember when they would like flash them in the eyes and make them forget everything?
Yeah.
With the attention span in 2026, pretty much everybody's already forgotten this entire podcast episode. And so what I like to ask as the last question from each of you is that in this moment, right after they flash their eyes, they get to tell them what to think or tell them what to feel. I call it the tattoo wisdom.
Oh, I love
So
that.
for everybody listening, if you could erase it right now and give them tattoo wisdom that they would take for the rest of their life, what would each of your tattoo wisdoms be to put on their soul?
Um, the steps you take matter, and they matter
Mm,
to more than just yourself, but they matter to those around you and those that support you and those that you support. And so,
mm,
be willing to create action and take those next steps.
The cards that you were dealt are not ideal, and you have to play like a winner every day. So you
mm.
never know who you're gonna impact and why you're gonna impact. And you may not know that it's either impacting your community, but when you open up a door for me, the simple as opening up a door opened up so many possibilities for me. So just be curious and get to know people and open up a door for them.
Oh, so good. So good. For everybody listening, I normally do this like 5 minute summary of everything that we talked about, but truthfully, I feel like I would deflate the power or dilute the seasoning of everything that Brent and Kyle already shared. And so I'm going to wrap this one really easily with let what both of them just shared as their wisdom be the most important thing. And one of the things that Kyle said is that your cards were dealt. And the way that I'll leave you with this one is that if they were dealt to you, the good Lord either gave them to you or he allowed you to have the hand. And so do what Kyle said and pull up your seat to the table because there's something in there for you. And at my last piece that I say on every one of these podcasts is I'm like, don't allow this to become shelf help. Don't file this away as something you listen to. Don't be like, oh, this was so motivating or so proud of them. Like, become the difference. But take one of the things that you heard today. Maybe it's a perspective. Maybe it's a shift. Maybe it's listening, like Kyle talked about. Maybe it's how Brent sees himself with team and leadership and humility. But take one of those things and bring it into practice today. Don't look at the 141 cones ahead of you, like look at the first cone. And how can I take that thing and how can I bring it to the next evolution? And I think that we'll all be a lot better. So please check out their foundation. I will have everything linked. I will have Instagram linked. I will have their website linked and become a part of it. That might be just shooting them a message. If you have a podcast and you listen to this, DM them on Instagram and ask to have them on the podcast. If you want to share this episode with somebody you know who could benefit, share this episode because at minimum, you doing that helps us help them. And I think more of the world needs to hear this message. And so, wherever you are in the world, remember that relationships will always beat algorithms. We will either see you in the next episode or you will hear me in your earballs. But either way, we're done.